Chapter 181. Under certain conditions, I amend almost immediately. The temptation to visit this sphere, gaining allies and funds along the way grips me. However, I have just been scalded by one betrayal and would rather wait until my next disappointment. Is this how my sire operates? Dealing with others knowing he will be played and will have to get his point across with a hand through the chest? Ugh. Name them. Macius yells with enthusiasm. If anything, he seems even more eager. To begin with, I mercilessly interrogate him about every aspect of his plan. Although I would not imply malice from the tiny eye-eating monster, no, I do imply malice, but not aimed towards me. The point of failure of many plans is not enemy action but incompetence. He might just consider an escape plan that I could not use because he can go through keyholes and I may not. I am capable of going through protected doors, but most of the time, the lock will not survive the experience. Macius should not have a perfect understanding of my abilities, nor of my limits. I need to know the plan from the beginning to the end. To my surprise, he does seem to have one, and it is quite intricate at that. What Macius also has is numbers. His minions or associates are numerous, and each come with their skills in being where they shouldn't be. As such, not only does he have extensive information on where we are going, we will also be able to adapt our plans on the fly. I will also be wearing disguises. I cannot help but feel excitement growing. Blood in masquerade? What more could I ask for to mark my grand entrance in the fairy games? They can keep to their strange customs while I collect eyeballs and favors. Yes, I finally agree after detailing everything. By that time, we are approaching the end of the night and day cycle. Yes, this will do nicely. Voidmoor is an anomaly, even by fairy standards. It was discovered eons ago by the Court of Blue and quickly populated by virtue of having readily available houses. Who built those? Even Macius doesn't know. What he does know is that Voidmoor used to be a fraction of its current size. This house was not there last time I came, he says, pointing at a spindly building nestled between two fat warehouses. I inspect the decrepit walls. The roof tiles look like they are a light breeze away from splitting the head of the next passerby. By comparison, its two neighbors display clean walls while warm lights radiate from the windows like cozy invitations in the gloomy later afternoon. I blink and grab the latch of the newcomer, curious. Careful, some houses here actually move, Macius notes. Yes, on many foots. One of his kin adds, bubbing excitedly. They eat people. Another gasps. Rude. Any way to tell? I ask. Check the entrance and you can see the teeth. The tiniest trumpets in a piccolo voice. I look around and find only bricks. With a shrug, I enter the place without resistance. It means it is abandoned, as I felt something when visiting Aunt Carnacial's domain. This one looks clean enough if impoverished. The pantry contains a half-filled bag of millet and a peach-like fruit and syrup, held in a sealed glass jar. It has plumbing. The proportions are not quite right. Yet. They grow like mushrooms. Macius laughs. Or like flowers. With the food in? I ask. You still have to buy your own. Or steal it. Or scavenge it. Or eat your enemies. The flying chorus replies. Let's not tarry, Ariane the Devourer. Macius buzzes by my ear. We have to resize your disguise before the fighting begins. Oh yes, let us away. Above us, a flying frigate leaves a trail of smoke. It fades into the clouds a moment later. I discover that Voidmoor is a shell upon which live roving bands of lost fae. I discover. Many of the houses we pass by stand empty, though for each strange, empty domain, there is one lived in by fae of all shapes and sizes. Ratmen and boys with hair whiskers run in the street after each other under the benevolent gaze of a parent. Merchants haggle for all sorts of wares in the shadows of leaning apartments. Some warehouses host glass blowers or dye makers or all sorts of industries while others are empty, gutted of their occupants like old crypts. The uniformity of the architecture lends the place a maze-like feeling only reinforced by its immensity, and some of the alleys give me an impression of terrible foreboding rather than the melancholy I expected. If the streets were void Moore's shell, then the pit is its stomach. Machias leads me to its edge, while I hide under a cowled cape so as not to attract undue attention. The entrance lies in the heart of the most populous district, this one under guard by armored Fey in pristine uniforms. There lie the embassies and trading house branches. There, also, lie the piers. Like the twisted roots of a dead tree, they extend over the abyss in a haphazard mess of splitting extensions, some solid, some so rickety I wouldn't trust them with Machias weight. Ships themselves come in a staggering variety of specimens. One in particular shines blue and dangerous, its prow mounted with a swordfish blade that crackles under the darkening clouds. Others are merely more than boxes strapped to patched-up, stubby balloons. All of them show those strange crystals that keep them afloat and that I will absolutely, definitely, in no uncertain terms acquire before all of this is done. Illinois Guns of Liberty expanding into flying warships? Yes please. With one last look of regret at a damaged sloop leaning on its side like wounded prey begging to be slain, I return my attention to the pit's entrance. It is, quite simply, a dark maw in the middle of the plaza. Even the uneven pavement appears to swirl into its depth, stone as frozen liquid stuck for all eternity at the edge of a vortex. Tough thugs line stairs going down, eyeing the pedestrians with suspicion. They look for banned folks, Machias whispers from my cowl, but you are new so we are fine for now. You'll definitely be banned after tonight though. Can they even stop me? Where are the heavy hitters? You'll be eating them tonight. Most excellent. A basic ramp snakes around the chasm's walls, without any railings of course. The temperature increases as we go down. Interestingly, all of the Fey we come across bow and take a step towards the abyss when they see me. A matter of etiquette towards someone who might be a noble, I presume. My presence is known by now, but it should not leave our prospective foes a chance to do anything but speculate. After a steep descent, the maw opens to an immense cavern well lit by crystals embedded everywhere. I study the walls and find them peculiar, smooth like volcanic glass. Before me, half of the cavern is filled with stalls and rickety shops hawking food, weapons and armors, gambling dens, and a variety of projectiles to toss at performers. The other half hosts the circular, walled confines of the arena, with a blockish square at the back to hide the cells and the morgue. It is quite simply massive. So massive, it should not fit in a cavern without its ceiling collapsing. So massive that it could host thousands of people at once, perhaps tens of thousands. Here hides Voidmore's devouring mouth of sin, eating contestants and spitting entrails in profit. And here I shall make a killing. Hopefully. The back entrance is over there, Machias whispers. He forcefully turns my cowl in the right direction and I walk, feeling a bit like his horse. Once again, I am either ignored or avoided entirely, and the strange feeling reminds me of the foreign nature of the spheres with as much certainty as the flying ships. Back on Earth, most social differences are constructs. I can look like an affluent daughter of a Boston family in the afternoon, then wear the guise of a scullery maid by nightfall as I weave between groups of people, my back bent and my eyes modest. At midnight I can be an exotic European beauty and no one except my kin would be the wiser. Here, my humanoid traits place me squarely in the ranks of the nobles. This difference of status stems from inborn magical might, a gap between species that no amount of artifices will ever truly bridge. I could be powerful. They are not. There is no need to delve deeper. We reach a small gate hidden between two beige stone pillars just as I finish my musing. A titanic man in chainmail with tusks and quills for hair glares at me with suspicion, though he seems less fearful than his brethren. I can feel power from his aura. He could give a courtier a run for their money, maybe even stall a master. Machias flickers and whispers in his ear, then we are through to a long corridor dimly lit by blue stones. The stench of death is cloying here, and it is old. It has soaked in the very stone. My magic will be powerful in this place. At the end of the passage, We find an incongruously decorated reception manned by a bespectacled mole in a fancy outfit. The strange creature taps thin fingers together when it sees us. Macius dives forward to greet it, as we planned. It is best for me to appear meek and demure until the blood starts to flow. Another skull to the pile, winged one? The creature huffs. Male, from the voice. He speaks in childlike Ian as well, though his feels clipped and difficult. It lacks the associated meaning, even to my inexperienced ears. This one is good. Macius assures him. You know the rules. We cannot have grudges. This one is not a member of any court. This I swear. The mole man glares at me. I remain unfazed. I am mostly sure Sinead will turn this place to ash should I die here, but he asked the question and we gave an answer. Besides, I do not intend to die. She looks like a noble. Smells powerful too. His tongue flicks out. Very powerful. But it will not be enough. You know this, winged one. Macius smiles and our host sighs. You, listen. This place isn't what you think it is. The arena will swallow you whole, as it has many others. It is not a question of skill but of odds. The one in control likes to play them. No matter how strong you are, he will find the perfect counter and then you will wake up in the afterlife or with a collar around your neck to compensate the 1,000 leaves for medical costs. Do not throw your life away. Macius turns to me, a sign that answering is safe. I understand the risks, I assure the man. I appreciate that he would go against his employers in the name of fairness. Obviously, he does not believe me. You foolish young nobles, always too confident. You have won 3 duels and think you no danger. I wish you luck. Your candidacy is accepted. You will join the 3rd melee. Do you understand me, winged one? He finishes with a scowl. Macius mims beating someone with a mace until the mole man takes a swipe at him. On a prompt, I drop a purse of Macius tokens on the table. Private room? The creature asks after inspecting its contents. Yes. Number 13. I will let the guards know. We delve deeper into the base, finally stopping in front of a room that is half a cell and half a makeup room for ballet dancers. There is even a mirror which does not reflect me. I find an old, cracked painting stuck in a corner. It shows an embracing couple moving to hug and separate in a loop. A helpful message is drawn in the corner. I shall win and return to take this back. Someone else drew a face laughing itself silly over the doomed oath. Ominous. The rest of the support crew arrives as I inspect other discarded memorabilia. They fly through the keyhole, though I left the door ajar, a matter of principle, I suppose. We're in. When eyeballs. Do we have the list yet? It smells like dog in here. Hush. Macius interrupts. Check the room for tricks and traps and pits and rats. Leave no tile unturned. The swarm of flutterlings spreads across the room, pushing and pulling and looking all around. A group almost breaks a small vase and beckers. The other pulls a strange glass from the ceiling. I feel a spell being cast. As before, the world moves around to accommodate the will of the Fae with plastic grace, while casting on Earth is like pushing mud around. So unfair. Looking Eye isn't looking. The tiniest flutterling reports with an exaggerated military salute. Excellent. There isn't much to do beyond wait for the 3rd melee. It will mean that I face Tug the Cudgel, yes. I remember. And then a slew of other small-timers before the arena really tries to take you down. We will make sure you are protected from ambush outside of the arena, where they will send you between bouts after you have bloodied their nose. They cannot be too obvious about being rotten, cheating scum. By they, he means the Thousand Leaves Alliance, one of the dominant gangs in this land. I should be out before they have the time to retaliate, if they even dare. Macius' target is one of their most dangerous combatants and I intend to make a show out of him. The wait is made less tedious by 2 things. The first, unexpected, is that I change into my first costume. It is a simple, white gambeson with buckles and a skirt over fitting leggings. Astute eyes will recognize this as an Under Armour and draw the necessary conclusion as the show goes on. The flutterlings even grant me the intimacy I desire with the curtain they brought themselves, though I am not quite sure how. The second and more pleasantly surprising is that they braid my hair, forming a harmonious, humming chorus to do so. I find the feeling of dozens of tiny hands on my scalp relaxing, just as their songs soothe me. Soon enough, the time has come to join the melee. A heavily armored sentry leads me to a large waiting room where other gladiators await in sullen silence. Crude weapons line a wall, shoved haphazardly against the rack for those who came unprepared. The closest halberd still sports a lone, severed finger curled around its handle. "You're up," a fay finally says. He is a tall, hunched man with chitinous fingers, his face hidden behind disheveled hair. Only yellow eyes can be seen peering from behind his matted bangs. He glares at each other in turn before addressing us in childlike Ian. Rules are simple. Anything goes after the game master says you can fight, and not a moment before. Fights are to the death or incapacitation. You can surrender, I guess. I see a hint of fangs when he smiles. But the others don't have to stop. Heh? The last one standing gets to face a named gladiator. Now form a line and remember, no fighting before we say so or you die first. Got it? You, near the door, you're the first out. The others get behind. We obey. Most of those I see are lesser fake clutching poorly made weapons and sweaty grips, but there are a few outliers I deem capable, including a tall masked fellow with twin axes and a strange, insectal being with a skull like a horseshoe crab. The strange being and I share a look. Its eyes are pure dark. The dozen or so flutter line up. I have brought no weapon, nor will I use one at first. We obediently step out. A roar hits me like a wall. Powerful, hot light weighs upon my shoulders. The sand is red and reeks of old blood. Stained steel hooks angled down prevent people from climbing out, arrayed like so many inward teeth. The space is enormous. In front of us, a high dais hosts the more important people of the place, a smattering of influential people and the current owner of the pit, the Queen of 1,000 Leaves, the infamous Malera. She lounges in a high seat, looking bored. Her visible eye shines crimson while the other hides behind a green band. Blue hair hangs on her jacket like a sash. Her interest in us wanes, and she turns to an advisor to whisper a few words. The public gives us only a mild roar. The arena is far from full, and those present negotiate or purchase snacks from vendors more than they watch us. It is as Machias said. We are but cannon fodder. Above them, vast enchantmented walls show images of us from up close like photographs, but unlike photographs, they move. What a brilliant innovation, if it can indeed follow the contestants. Meanwhile, we stop in front of the dais in a loose formation. The game master is recognizable from his loose purple toga and antlers rising from his brow. I expected much from Lycian entertainment and this is unsatisfactory, though to be fair it would be like judging humanity from a back-alley rooster fight. The only interesting point so far is the delicious smell of fear that comes from some of my fellow rivals. If the game master shares my feeling, he does not betray signs of it as he spreads his arms wide as if welcoming a trusted friend. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow connoisseurs of the fine things in life, he announces, and I am struck by surprise. Not only does he speak true Lycian, but his meaning is conveyed with such clarity that an earthling might understand the notions he conveys. We gather tonight to welcome more hopefuls to our warm embrace, he mocks. Those fierce warriors will bleed for your enjoyment and a chance to fight a real gladiator. So, have we found steel or will they fold like paper? Let's find out. Kill. Abrupt. But not unexpected. I backhand the spear wielder to my right and dodge a sword strike to the back of my head by leaning forward. I am using human speed and barely more strength right now. For Machias' plan to work, I need to look beatable. Only when our enemies place their head through the noose will we pull on the rope. I have never fought like a human before, but I have enough battle experience to make up for it. I blocked the next horizontal strike from the swordsman by moving forward and blocking his wrist with my right hand, then I punch his throat with my extended left hand. My claws dig into soft flesh. I smell delicious blood, but do not succumb. Instead, I use his shoulder as a springboard to flip over his head while the spear strike aimed at my back buries itself in his chest. I kick a knife wielder who had used shadow magic to hide himself and grab him by the throat. A headlock, a twist, and his spine snaps like a twig. I lean forward and under the second spear strike and step to the side to dodge the third. I grab the shaft and kick its owner back, then shove the weapon in the mouth of a spellcaster. The orb of purple energy she had conjured flickers and dies. I kick high, deflecting an overhead axe strike. I steal a knife from its wielder and stab him in the throat before he can recover. I lick my fingers. So much delicious essence there, but I must be patient and savor the moment. Only take from the strong. Yes. My fangs ache but I resist. I must not indulge quite yet. The fight has lasted 30 seconds, but already there are only 5 contestants left standing. Most of those on the ground are dead. I am left facing the tall masked fellow with twin axes I spotted earlier and a person with goat legs and a staff. We circle each other, unwilling to strike first and offer our backs to the other. The crowd grumbles. We have gathered their attention with a good display. Now, they want more. The horseshoe crabhead fighter solves the situation by disposing of its enemy with blades growing out of its forearms. Twin Axes roars and attacks him while I am left facing the quarterstaff fighter. He controls the pace well at first, but I soon grow used to his rhythm and grab his staff at the end of a swing. To my surprise, the weapon glides from my fingers, so slippery I could not hold it at full strength. It is not enough to catch me off guard, and I use my foe's overconfidence against him by dodging under the next attack, blocking the one after and punching his fingers as they hold the shaft. The pain makes him lose his grip and I am on him soon enough. He never gives up, never stops even as I open wound after wound. I end up licking my fingers pensively as he agonizes on the sound. Not much essence, just enough to tease the appetite. The insectile being won the other match. It has waited patiently for me to finish, and I give it a short nod to express my appreciation. It tilts its head and raises its blades. When my guard is up, it attacks. I start by moving backward while it strikes in short jabs. It is very, very fast for a bipedal crustacean, reminding me of a mantis. It also immediately backs away when I counter and I soon realize why when it mistakes a feint for a strike and attacks the air. The interesting foe moves faster than it can think. It cannot adapt mid-movement. I have confirmation when I dive under and assault and kick its leg, causing it to stumble. It recovers quickly, however. From then on, its attack sequences shorten and it mixes with counters. I believe it is trying to slice my arms. A decent strategy. I try to counter or grab its wrists on several occasions, only avoiding sliced fingers because of my ability to predict where the blade will fall. I am now faced with an interesting aspect of Fey life. If I limit my speed and refuse to use a blade, I am completely outmatched. The creature is simply a better technician than I am. Only the speed of my mind protects me from defeat. Although the melee is supposed to involve only fodder, I have already found an opponent who could defeat most human bladey masters without breaking a sweat. If it sweats. Nevertheless, I am still me. As we fight by the body of the goat-legged Fey, it twitches. The insectile being is distracted. I strike. 3 clawed fingers dig into its armored chest, between 2 plates. Green ichor covers my fingers. It smells acidic and a little exotic. I step back and lick my fingers while the creature launches a defensive flurry. Tasty. In fact, surprisingly full of flavor. There is quite a spark in that one. And it is male. I can almost see a vision at the edge of my mind but not quite yet. The foe still stands. I have not yet defeated it. The creature moves with small steps now. He shivers in pain, carrying an acrid yet tantalizing smell to my nose. I understand something I had not. He is not wearing armor. He is wearing an exoskeleton. Which means I adapt my fighting style by moving to the sides, forcing him to turn using his feet. I knew it. His chest cannot move like ours do. He is slower in lateral movement. I use it to my advantage and press him. It soon proves obvious that he trained for just this occasion and manages to fend me off with blind swings, but it is not enough. A last feint and I kick his feet from under him, then I am behind, one hand on his shoulder and the other on his wrist. He bows his skull in defeat, though he does not speak. "Do you yield?" I ask, not eager to kill an honorable opponent. He is a hive lad from the Marsh Court. Someone screams in the closest section of the arena. They communicate by smell only. Ha ha ha. I had not been paying much attention to my surroundings and now realize that our fight has gathered more interest than they perhaps expected. The arena had fallen mostly silent. Now, many roar for me to kill the creature. Instead, I tilt its head back and push charm into its dark eyes. "Submit," I order. I receive a strange smell and response, but the feeling that carries through our link is one of a bared throat and that one is universal. I lightly bite his arm, taking only a sip of essence. Will not stay in the marsh. Will not conform. Will not serve. Will seek perfection. Will dance. Until I die. I push the arm away and help the interesting creature to its feet. The game master sneers at the display, but the crowd seems to approve. Our demonstration of skill has awoken their interest, it seems. The creature limps away while teams of guards come to carry the dead and dying out. The antlered Fae does not show any concern, though the same cannot be said for Malera. She whispers orders to a painfully thin servant. Perhaps she saw through my deception? It should not matter. I have not revealed enough to warrant too much attention. More importantly, they have never met a vampire before. And we have a winner. Let's see if our newest bleeding heart has what it takes to defeat the next opponent. You know him, you love him, the headcracker, the master of mace, the thumping, thundering, grumpy thug, the teeth fairy, Tog the cudgel. The roar appears more genuine this time. Many of the Fae throw flashy magic in the air to welcome the new contestant. One of the large gates in the arena's walls opens to let through a giant. An actual giant. I barely reach his midriff. His mud-colored skin shines with whirls of tattoos, but most of them have been marred by deep scars. He only wears a tiny kilt. Hair covers most of his face except for a pair of bloodshot eyes. He waves what is basically a steel-tipped trunk and charges me with a roar, and the reason for Malera's concern soon becomes obvious when the cudgel smashes harmlessly against the ground, then again when I lean under the follow-up swing. I even stand for a second while my enemy attempts to locate me, not realizing I am still at his feet. He is much weaker than the insectal fighter. His only notable feature is his strength. I frown. I should not lower my guard. Perhaps he has hidden abilities. In order to deny him his reach, I step close to him, which seems to anger him greatly. I circle him and slice at his knees, then at his wrist when he goes for a grab. He is not exactly clumsy, but compared to the other fighters, the challenge is lacking. I suppose not everyone has experienced dodging massive blows so as not to become intimate with the nearest cliff wall. I should buy Jarek a present when I get back. Maybe a dictionary. I decide to play a little bit, half out of boredom and half because being popular with the crowd will afford me a measure of protection when the stakes increase. On the next downward swing, I casually jump on the trunk and find myself face to face with a dumbstruck giant when he pulls it back. I kick him in the teeth and drop down to avoid the grab. I rely only on my feet for the next 3 exchanges. It soon becomes clear to everyone that I am toying with my prey. Laughs and jeers echo around the bleachers. I am still being careful, though it appears Tog really had only strength going for him. In desperation, Tog races away, leaving me behind and rather surprised, but it is only to better turn around and charge me. Let it not be said that I would refuse a good challenge. We run at each other at his speed. At the last moment, I kneel and flatten myself, letting inertia and sand carry me under his mighty swing. I take his heels as payment for the smell. Thankfully, I did not look up at the critical moment. Tog crashes on the ground. I jump on his back and walk on his spine while he mewls in pain. A puncture near his heart and I latch on his back, drinking a gulp of delicious vitality. Just a little bit. I can only do this because vitality already sustains me. The frustrating deprivation will only make the last feeding that much more exhilarating. It will also make this hunt meaningful, and escalation of increasingly stronger prey to, hopefully, a worthy finale. After taking my due, I kill him by crushing his neck. The audience hoots their pleasure at the gory finish. I suspect Tug was not the most popular fighter, but more importantly, they're too canny not to realize that Malera was grooming him for her roster. An offense has been made. The bait is set. What an upset, ladies and gentlemen, what a fascinating development. Our rookie has disposed of Tug with vicious ruthlessness. The cudgel is broken, crumpled and trampled by the hand of our mysterious challenger. And now, we are short a named gladiator for our next bout. I suppose you will do, newcomer. Let us see how far those skills of yours carry you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome AJourneyOfBlackAndRed. It appears Malera intends to use me to dispose of problematic elements. Maki's informed me that Sima was one of those who refused Malera's generous offers of employment. I do not mind being a tool, for now. The mistress of the Thousand Leaves does not yet realize it, but I intend to take all her assets from her, both good and bad. Sima sachets from another door under a mixed reception while I pick the cudgel's handle to make myself one. I end up with a rough mace, a blunt tool barely more than a cut piece of wood. I turn around and study my new opponent while she stops a few steps away. Sima wears a red, form-fitting armor made of some sort of leather. It does not look very sturdy. Black hair caught in a braid hangs down her back and two crimson eyes glare at me viciously. She also has 4 arms, rather interestingly, yet she holds only 2 sabers. That strikes me as awfully inefficient. From the Court of Fire, Sima has shown she earned her name both from her style and brazen personality. Let us see if she can give our newcomer some new colors. Court of Fire. Oh dear. The woman rushes forward and takes a deep breath, which is the moment I pick to throw my improvised cudgel at her nose. She does dodge at the last moment, but the effect is done. The gout of fire she spits roast sand to the side. Ugh, a Melusan equivalent. The Watcher preserve me from those hardams. To prevent a repeat, I charge and pick my cudgel from the ground. Sima fights me off in a flurry of saber slices. She fights like a dervish, always moving, always rotating. I find myself thrusting much more to try and stop her dance. She is pushed back and it does not take long for me to realize that she is used to wielding 4 blades. Her style is too telling. Why bring only 2? The blades are not even in good condition. Our fight is fast and decisive. Using the cudgel like a rapier, I manage to land fast jabs between her defenses. The blunt end might not be particularly sharp, but I can tell from her hisses that I might have cracked a few bones. Her dance grows increasingly desperate as we move around the arena. I quickly gain complete control of the fight and keep landing strikes. In desperation, she adopts a more offensive style and loses even harder. The public jeers at the poor woman. They hurl mocking insults, belittling her struggles. Distasteful. Out of her wits, the woman decides one last, daring strike. She catches the cudgel between her 2 sabers and, with a roar of triumph, cuts it in 2. That little maneuver leaves her completely exposed, so I kick her in the sternum. Her body smashes on the sand, all air stolen from her lungs. I am on her before she can recover. Her forearms give me some problems while the public's appreciative whistles test my patience. However, I finally backhand her and use the moment of reprieve to disarm her. Do it then, kill me, she spits, but it is bravado. She is quite a bit younger than she pretends. I can taste her terror, hear the rolling drum of her heartbeat. Do you yield? I offer. What good would it be? Malera will make me a slave. The prey should respect the hunt. It is to me that you submit, I hiss. Silly goose. What does another have to do with anything? Wait, Namekius told me. Then I yield, but to you, she says with some hope. I grab her wrist and drink one gulp. More essence teases me, still not enough. And I have gained a favor from the little fire spitter. I will be sure to collect it later. For now, I pick a saber and wait for her to leave, which she does, stumbling weakly on the way. More cheers come, and I see with some vain pride that not only do the crowds enjoy my display, but more and more are pouring to watch the show. Malera seems pleased and I see a mocking expression on the game master's face, but that is fine. Again, they believe they are using me. I do not mind. Their confidence will make the finale that much sweeter. I test my newly acquired saber and decide that it is a piece of scrap that should never have seen the outside of a forge. My letter opener is a deadlier implement. As I examine the blade, my next foe makes an appearance. From the recess of the swamp court, the flying menace and another promising beginner, I give you Noel the Fleet. My opponent has wings. How peculiar. Oh, and the head of a fly, except for his mouth which appears quite human. Thin limbs grasp a thinner sword. No armor, only clothes. He will be fast but not very strong. Another undesirable thrown at me, perhaps to test my limits. You have done well so far, the creature declares, but you have not faced the likes of me. Only because he is one of the weirdest things I have ever seen. Without further ado, the flyman charges me, the drone of its gossamer wings overpowering even the crowd. He intends to skewer me in a single charge. I approve until I realize he is aiming for my hip instead of center mass. I sidestep him easily and clip his leg, but not too deep. Not yet. This one's blood is red as I show the mob the trace of my victory. Noel sees that his own blade remains unbloodied and curses, though he appears undeterred. I find him interesting but silly. He should be using a spear with a curved head at the end, not a sword. I wish for a better hunt. It will be fine. The night is still young. Lucky hit. Let's see you do it again. He bellows. Courage in the face of defeat, a respectable trait. He charges again. This time, I am hit by sound. My ears ring painfully. I charge him. Noel flies back and out of reach, though he cancels his strange attack. I wonder why he would not fly up, though I suspect the arena might have measures against that. He pretends to charge, then swerves abruptly at the last moment. I shrug and spread my arms in silent question. The crowd's jeers needle him on. He charges several times and tries to clip me, but I simply step aside. He really does need a longer reach. Weak. I am starting to believe that I am pitted against children. The next charge, I step into his path and brace. A saber slice deflects the sword before it can pierce my tender flesh. The flyman crashes against my chest. I twist to absorb the shock and send him careening into the sand. As expected, he is very light. I definitely won that exchange. Not that I am heavy, of course, it is the armor. I notice with some annoyance that my saber did not survive the battle. I toss the handle to the side and walk to Noel. He is slow to recover, having landed head first. I grab him by the throat and pull him up. Do you yield? I ask. The crowd boos, execution denied, but once more I am assailed by the feeling that those I face have not been given the chance to fight to the best of their potential, and killing them now irks me. Besides, they are problematic subjects of my current adversaries. I see no reason to remove this thorn from their flank. You will not kill me? Do I not disgust you? Noel asks. I cannot read the expression of his strange face. I suppose some might find the contrast between his almost human mouth and compound eyes disturbing, but honestly, I care little. The only thing that disgusts me is that sword of yours. Do you yield? Yes, though if our host provides me with their medical care and the associated cost, be sure to kill me after you have collected your earnings. He answers, dejected. Then offer your blood, supplicant, I reply. I understand the real request. Do not leave him here as slave. He brings his wrist up and I bite, taking one gulp and no more. It tastes of mud and freedom. Intriguing. I recover his sword and send him on his way. The game master mumbles something about giving me a chance to rest and I leave the din of the arena behind me. The shadows push my instincts further until the guards take a step back. Macius flies to me with his flutterlings to guide me back to my room. They have taken the bait, he declares excitedly. They are summoning their more hardened fighters. And we have already broken the bank with our earnings. Look, he declares. A cloud of his kin carry a bag loaded with a kaleidoscope of tokens. The riot of light makes me hiss. No more light. Hunts should be done in dim places. Do you want to get some now, or? Bet everything on me, HSSSSS. I hope the next opponents deliver. They will be named, all of them. They will counter you, too. They better. I hear steps in the alley, someone large and weak and slow and so full of life. The gate guard opens the door silently and scowls when he sees me facing him. Stupid degenerate, I am backed by the court of winks and keyholes. How did you expect to catch me off guard, exactly? The Thousand Leaves requests your continued presence. You are not to leave the building. Don't try to escape, he grunts. Escape. I repeat, then I laugh. I should not since the head has not quite cleared the noose yet, and Malera could still pull out. She must believe I am as limited as I appear. I simply cannot help it. Me, escape. Ha! We shall see. WHO runs. I would not dream of it, I conclude. What she said, dull one, Macius adds, now off you go. We are busy gazing at our navels. You should clean yours. The tiniest flutterling adds. EWWWWWWWWW, they all echo. The guard takes one step forward, a mistake. The swarm of winged terror assembles in a cloud above me, their tendrils stretched out and linked. In my mind pallies, the thorn walls shiver. I blink. A strange hum spreads throughout the room and I must actively fight off the urge to sing along. The gate guard wisely decides to take a step back and leave. I admit to being impressed. Their focus was not even on me. That was impressive, I admit. Most courts have ways to deal with us, Macius admits, but they are not always ready, and this one was not. I nod and kneel, focusing on breathing. I must stay in control for now, despite the mounting thirst and instincts that scream for an end to the hunt. Patient. I must be patient. It will be an excellent opportunity for me to practice fighting in adverse conditions. Meanwhile, Macius and his kin add pieces of colorful armor to my gambeson. Part of the next disguise. It takes far too long for the gate guard to summon me. I pick up Noel's blade and make my way out. The arena has filled up. Eager laissez-faire occupy every bleacher now. The food merchants must be making a killing. An excited buzz gives the blood-stained aura of the place a bubbly quality I both appreciate and detest. The potency of any blood magic spell here would be multiplied, but the precious vitality spilled here was often wasted in unfair hunts. Those lead to dark paths. I breathe in. So much vitality here, and I have teased the thirst into a craving. I hope our foes deliver a proper challenge. Ladies and gentlemen. I ignore the announcer, let his meaning bounce against my indifference despite how loud it is. Malera appears slightly upset, but in the way of a teacher whose student misbehaved. My status has risen from side note to inconvenience, then to chore. The winter color of the light mail I wear can only increase her discomfort. I will be promoted quite a few times before the night is over. The metal man, the slippery spiked sparrow, Hanadro. A tall man enters the arena from another door. The moving paintings above show every detail of his massive body, including strange ram horns curving around his bare skull. He wears a cape and nothing else. His manhood hangs freely. No one seems to care, and so I show no sign of being bothered. Fight. The man spreads his arm, welcoming a first strike. I could kill him in so many ways, but I must resist and be a patient huntress, and so I charge him, sword first. He doesn't react. At the last moment, I swerve away just as liquid steel emerges from under the cape to cover him in thick armor. A massive slab rises over his chest while a helmet merges seamlessly with his horns. Steel even covers his sneer, turning his face into a mask much like Bertrand's. Even his eyes shine with silvery light. This might be problematic. The Fae twists on himself and swings. I run to the side to avoid whatever comes. Sand explodes at my feet when an overly long whip cracks like thunder in his hand. Seeing he has missed me, Hanadra walks forth with ponderous inevitability. Contrary to the previous contestants, this one seems well equipped, and his strangely extending weapon gives him the range he needs to offset the weakness that comes with such cumbersome armor. He is quite adept too. Nevertheless, a whip needs time to wind up, and so I charge forward between two attacks. Hanadra smiles and strikes once more. I wait until the last moment and jump, curling into a ball midair. The whip carves a scar in the sand beneath me. Perhaps he expected me to repeat the same stunt as with the giant. They still underestimate me. It will make the reversal of fortune that much sweeter. I get within reach of Hanadra before he can strike again. To my immense annoyance, he pulls the whip back and turns it into a sword through what seems to be a simple effort of will. I should sue for intellectual property theft. With legal outrage at my back, I attack first. I am not a dimwit and I avoid his truly armored parts, yet I also know that some measure of flexibility must remain or an armor set is merely a statue. I jump to the side and twist the blade in my hand, hitting backwards and down. My sword's tip breaks against the back of his knee. I avoid and hook and take a step back. "How are you going to fight now, little girl?" Hanadra asks. "Claws. That butter knife?" I lunge forward and up, dodging a grabbing hand to smash what is left of Noel's weapon into my foe's eye. Even with the steel cover, it is to hurt. And it does. The Fae swears and grabs for his head, so I grab for his feet and lift, using my feet to push him off balance. He falls face first, incapable of keeping his balance. I climb on his back and grab a foot in his neck. I pull. He fights me, but the weight and flexibility now work against him. "You will tire soon enough," he roars against the sound. I cannot strangle him, true, and I cannot break his limbs with steel protecting his articulations. I can, however, smother him. Readjusting my grip, I use my knee to shove his head against the sand. The metal still changes. Spikes emerge from his chest plate to dig into my shin, but I am now wearing armor as well and they lack the power and sharpness to pierce through. Choking on the blood-soaked ground, he next tries to use a steel spike to prop himself up, but the sand once again betrays him by letting the spikes in. His struggles turn more erratic. As for me, so long as I prevent him from buckling, he will not be able to push me away. Eventually, his struggles cease. He extends his hands in a strange sign I do not recognize, though the meaning is easy to guess. I stop pushing and move back. "Do you yield?" I ask. "Yes, damn you. Yes. You have won," he bemoans as he makes to stand. I place my index finger against his cheek and he freezes. The sharp nail digs effortlessly through his skin, drawing fresh red blood. I lick my finger and no more. I have my due and he understands. I could have gone through his protection. I merely elected not to. What an amazing victory, and the mysterious cold one keeps triumphing. Is there a champion to stop her rampage? The game master asks. I look up to see the crowd go wild, while Malara's face has soured like an old grape. Her one eye glares down balefully, but when she notices my attention, she smiles. I understand her confidence. She operates a gambling operation. From her perspective, all she has to do is to stack the odds in her favor and eventually, the house always wins. From my perspective, I am cheating excessively. The mistress of mayhem, the untouchable mind reaver, Tyranna the Elder. The game master finishes. Most of the crowd boos, then the moans only increase when crystals set in the walls belch out clouds of smoke. It smells like swamp humidity, their pungent odor diluting that of blood. The lights dim. A fae who could pass as Makia's mother rises from the fog. While her kin flies naked, this one sports a shimmering cocktail dress, the light forming a rainbow prism on her form. She has a mature beauty to her, though it is marred this instant by one of the most arrogant smirks I have ever been subjected to. My defenders scream from the bleachers. Boo! Traitor! Vile hag! The flutterlings hiss. Hush, children. You have all been quite naughty, disturbing Aunt Tyranna from her nap. Why, I believe I will break your toy first, and then we shall see about a few nightmares. Her voice is warm and sultry even with its chilling message. She is also talking in adult-like Ian with perfect ease, though the taste of hers differs from Sinead's, somehow. Her aura is diffuse. Let the fight begin. She disappears. Something drills through my mental defenses, fast yet agile. Extremely powerful. The outer walls are breached. It's in my mind. A simple effort of will places my consciousness back outside the castle's entrance, where most of the statues are concentrated. An intruder seeks to breach the way in. I can feel her presence, moving around before the thorns have the time to grab her. Some of the outer statues take swings, but miss. She is too fast. I need to get in and close the gates behind me. Get in. Get inside. Get inside. I scowl. Why would I get inside? I am already inside. The inside is me. You are merely delaying the inevitable, child, a voice whispers. I open my eyes and crouch. I am no match for her. She is old and made for this, and though my defenses are formidable, she will eventually destroy them. Of this, I have no doubt. I focus and trace 2 circles in the blood-soaked sands. Glyphs soon adorn them, all of them in a cade. The fog blocks sight, which explains why the spectators are displeased. Mental duels must not be all too exciting to watch to begin with. I am done in only a couple of seconds. Pierce the veil. I knew I had grown in power since the last battle against Mask, but I had not quite realized how much. The spell is far from perfect in my hands. I shall never be a great mage, but it is very, very powerful. The fog splits apart in a funnel in front of me to reveal nothing. Magic. The cold one can do blood magic. What a surprise. The game master erupts. I did not expect to succeed on my first try. That is quite all right. Pierce the veil. Pierce the veil. Pierce the veil. On the 4th try, I catch the glimpse of fleeing tendrils. My 5th attempt reveals Tyranna's scowling form. The assault on my mental defenses begins in earnest. It appears she was merely playing before. I grit my teeth and endure. Pierce the veil. This time I have her well in my sight. I trigger the 2nd circle. Promethine. Constantine's signature chains lash out in the dozens. I am so surprised that I almost lose my focus, but of course, this is a place of blood and captivity. There are probably few better places in all the spheres to cast it. A torrent of blood-red links hunt after Tyranna's fleeing form. She is faster, but we are in a closed space and there are just so many. Eventually, she tries to fly up but crashes against the shield. The chains envelop her. Her next spell dies, smothered by the powerful restrictions. I drag her to me. Kill her. Makia's bellows. You miserable cur. I'll shred your soul like wet paper. My captive promises. The crowd goes wild, demanding her blood. I win. They get a show. That is perfectly acceptable. I bite Tirana's head off and use her body like a bottle, drinking one gulp before discarding it like an empty gin flagon. The crowd falls into a horrified silence. And then, they go absolutely wild. The deafening roar shakes the walls of the arena. I stretch my arms and bask in their adoration. Yes, pray, love me, fear me, worship me. I am not even done. I turn my head to the dais and, for the first time, smile smugly. The head is through the noose now. They sent their best at me and I turned it into a show. They have to make me kneel, or they will lose face forever. Although the game master keeps talking, everyone present knows that the entertainment part of the evening is done for and we are in open conflict. Malara cannot break the rules, but she can certainly skirt them. The fog disperses and runes glow on the wall. The light returns with a vengeance. I feel my magic being smothered in an effect amusingly reminiscent of the becoming spell I used against the skeleton mages. Pillars of heated stone emerge from the ground. I give you Fizzledale the Wasp. The contestant who enters the area might be short, and lithe as well. I find it hard to tell. He shines like fireworks until I am forced to avert my eyes. Heat radiates from his shimmering body. Magic answers my call sluggishly, too sluggishly to be of use. Fight. I dodge back, then under flaming rays of incandescent magic. Not a spell. Short-range projectile? I can barely see. All I can do is to run and use the heated pillars as shields. It does not work very well. Fizzledale cuts me off. He opens his helmet to reveal a pair of ruby eyes. You? I charm him. Or rather, I use the mental equivalent of a sledgehammer to capture his attention. He does not have any protection I can perceive. In fact, he is even more vulnerable than the average mortal, something I have noticed with those who enjoy opium. I grab his mind and do not let go. Fizzledale crashes on the ground. He is a strange one, with tiny transparent scales that cover much of his body. I squeeze his mind like a vice and grab him by the collar. Fiery blades clatter against a rock. He is quite light. I take one sip and no more. He tastes of ash, both from his power and from what he has done to his dreams. I snap his neck. This one is too broken to be of use. The crowd goes mad. They laugh and point fingers. The air shakes when I toss the corpse to the side. The dais occupants blister with unspoken rage even as they maintain an appearance of aloofness, but I can see the flared nostrils and contracted eyes, the fingers gripping decorated chairs. They know our next play will be the last. The noose has closed, now. The gates open to let me out. Macius waits for me by the nearest alley. The usual guard is nowhere to be found. They tried to trap the room. Twice. Did you manage? Yes. There are many more of us now that you have done so much fun stuff. The guards had wards but they were cheap, so now they're dead and I have more eyeballs. Follow. We return to our room and the flutterlings bring the last elements of the disguise, true plate armor. This time, they will bring Macius' true target. The next opponent will be the last. I can stop hiding. While the first gambeson was a neutral white and the male a deceptive blue, this is black plate. A statement. I am entirely dressed when Malara comes calling, only my head remains without a helmet. She stays by the door. Her lone eye finds the dead guard by the wall. A social collar, I comment. I don't know who sent you and I am eager to find out. Not now though, not even if you change your mind. You will tell me everything I wish to know after Gorgatha's done with you. A hiss reveals a forest of pointy teeth. I have seen your kind before, girl. Young and strong and so very naive. You lived in a backwater and cannot possibly comprehend that this is the real world, and you are one of many. I will be seeing you soon. Do try to make the fight interesting. I chuckle. She is right. It is quite a large universe. I stand to leave. Macius sends a few flutterlings with me but they are not really needed. The gloves are off, the gauntlets are on. No more hiding. In no time, I stand before the gates. Half of the crowd calls for the cold one, the other, for my opponent. The area is back to full sand, and the dais has returned to cold haughtiness. Ladies and gentlemen, she has taken the arena by storm and made short work of every opponent so far. She is as adept with her fists as she is with magic. The winged ones favor her. I give you the mysterious cold one. The arena shakes and I spread my arms, demanding a better ovation. They scream my nickname, as they should. And to stop her, the reigning champion of the arena, with 17 fights and 17 victories. They say his father was of the court of blood. They say he killed his first man when he was 6 with his bare fists, the cranium cracker, the blood spiller, I give you, Gorgath the Crusher. The creature that comes from the largest gate is closer to the traditional Christian rendition of a demon than I would think possible, a stark contrast to his golden, angelic armor. He even has the horns and the utter ugliness of the most revolting of gargoyles. He towers above me and holds in his hands a maul that positively shines with enchantments. I hate being bothered without notice, little girl, he says with a gravelly voice. You're lucky the boss wants you in a state where you can just speak. I smile at him and quickly cast a voice-enhancing spell, struggling a little to cast under the effect of the arena's anti-magic runes. It is time to make myself known at least to an extent. I am going to kill you without moving a finger, I state. Gorgath huffs with disdain, and I notice the source of his confidence shining ominously on his armor, a very, very powerful protection against mind magic. Unfortunately for him, I was not referring to charm. When I first triggered my Magna Arca, using the roots was as easy as breathing. I have struggled to reproduce this effectiveness ever since then, and my mastery showed its limits when I fought Bertrand and his followers. In theory, my Magna Arca would not simply let me fight, it would allow me to control the terrain for both me and my allies until it becomes as deadly to intruders as the garden of my mind palace. In effect, keeping so many factors in mind when facing foes just as fast or even faster than me remains a daunting challenge. Now that I have grown from the Fey offering, I should have a smoother control. All that is left is to practice. It cannot be my ultimate weapon if I only use it for my most difficult battles. Practice makes perfect. And it will feel good to let go. Any time now. Fight. Ah. YESSSSSSSSSS. I tilt my head back and release my hold. Essence spreads and my aura flares. The tiniest amount of resistance holds me back, more a matter of finding a path than a real obstruction. Rocks above my head block the purple light, but I just know, that Void Moor's starless expanse just gained its first astral object. It is here. It has come. It is, as always, watching. A pulse of wonder, like the coo of a soul. Yes, feast your eye on this new world. As for me, I shall feast as well. The time has come to bring this masquerade to its inevitable conclusion. Magna Arca. Thorn roots crack the bloody sound, thick and strong. I pull one back with an effort of will just as Gorgath charges. When he's in the right spot, I release it. The root whips back and smashes against the chest plate with a resounding clang. The massive Fey bounces back, but it will take more to stop him. He bellows. I sit down, letting an arched root carry me. Gorgath struggles to advance against the shredding, whipping spikes. His armor resists for now. He grunts with effort and, when he is close enough, takes a deep breath. I raise a wall to block the acid breath that emerges from his throat. Fluid hisses on the red sand, but the roots hold, just as durable here as they were on Earth. The supposedly unstoppable champion is dragged, pushed, carried stumbling through the sands, tossed and caught and smashed down. It doesn't hurt him yet, but the tone is given. I look up to the dais to see Malera standing, arguing with an advisor. The magic dampening runes are still active. They simply do not affect my power. She knows now, she understands. I see fear. I can almost taste it. With one last look, the mistress of the arena turns around and abandons the place, leaving me the ground. Oh, Such a meaningful decision. Gorgath roars. He swings his maul vertically and a massive arc of fire emerges, making a beeline for me. I have the root under me carry me out of the way. I should use them to reorient myself more, maybe even change direction midair. Such potential. Seeing his attack has failed, Gorgath redoubles his efforts. The struggle never ends for him, because the roots never end. They flay him without respite. Even without infusing them with essence, damage has already appeared on the previously lustrous surface of his armor. Bits and scratches accumulate with every smack, every shredding pass. My foe shows he is mad with anger, and it makes no difference whatsoever. I stand on a throne of thorns, unmoving despite his best efforts. A new charge ends in a prison I raise all around him. He fails to escape it once more. He bangs on the surface again and again with no result. I think it is time to hammer the point home. Loth's statue strikes his flank. Gorgath turns and roars. His addled mind launches him at the nearest foe, even though the dimmest fighter would realize this is a construct. False stone flies, then so does blood. Dalton's gun roars. The werewolf jumps on his back. Gorgath fights. He bleeds. He resists. He kneels and stumbles. Seveya's statue stabs a spear in his back, finding a chink in the ravaged armor. He screams and falls for good. I use roots to bring him to me. Our eyes meet. With his remaining strength, he throws a pathetic punch. I allow it to slide on my armor. He tried hard, though not very smartly. I bite down. The accumulated essence of all the previous gladiators coalesce into his own as I drink him dry. He is a fey on his own territory, a champion at the end of a line of warriors. And I made an example out of him. I won. He tastes amazing, like life and triumph and struggle on those blood-soaked grounds. I take my due under the ovation of the crowd even as they know they have witnessed history. It feels amazing. Now, time to collect more. I go through the door. Its guardian has left, run off somewhere. That was so good. Makias comes from somewhere to hover around my head. Wonderful, Ariane. Such tasty eyeballs. We have your winnings. Follow me. Quiet, winged one. I exclaim. We are not done yet. I have to collect my other dues. Makias turns back, intrigued. Other dues? How can he not know? He was there. Everyone was there. The gladiators, silly. I explained to the slowpoke. I spared them so they owe me their lives, and I also promised I wouldn't leave Simba in their grip. So of course I will, liberate them. Eesh. I liberate Lycians is what I do. You should know. I thought I had seen Makias ecstatic before, but now he looks like a child on Christmas Eve. He will assist. No more words. Lead on, faithful guide. For freedom and the pursuit of a great hunt. I am bringing liberty to these forsaken lands, one broken door at a time. Onward, I say. I did not free you all to stop on the earth side. To gates and collars. Tee. With the cloud of flutterlings opening the way, I rushed deeper into the maw of the arena, meeting only a handful of terrified guards. A thought occurs to me, however. I had a fantastic hunt and a great feeding while I was not even thirsty. Could it be that the massive influx of power has made me drunk? Am I placing myself needlessly in harm's way? Could my judgment be impaired? Open up, door, you know you swing that way. Tee. Cells. Spartan ones, too. The insectal hive thing with the blades on his arms sits against the wall with a collar. Unacceptable. He's a good lad. I tear it off and pull him to his feet. I know he doesn't quite get sound communication, so I will have to be especially eloquent. You're Dancer. Got it? That's your sound name. Dancer. Dancer. Nod your head because that means yes. Slowly, the Lycian meaning behind the words filters through his chitinous skull. He does nod. Excellent. More freedom. Yay. Sima is next, then Adreno. Others too because they are on the way and I don't really mind. Noel caresses his newly mandicle-free wrists. Are you a royal? He asks. Nope. Well. You should be. You can call me Princess of the Blood. I shall allow it. Because I am in a good mood. This is all well and good, Adreno interrupts, but we won't stay free for long unless we strike at the Thousand Leaves. They have more captives in the abandoned high markets. They can just replace us. More captives, you say? I interrupt. Walls are weird here, very naked. Oh yes, a cell. We can show you. The flutterlings agree. So helpful. Very kind of them. I shall not have prisoners on nice die forward my dragonfly things. We leave the arena in a mob, ooh, but that is all nice. I find the turtleman that sold sneezes by the entrance and grab him by the collar. I'll take your entire stock, I announce, making a space from the massive bag that contains my money. No, treasure. No, booty. Some guards attack us so I eat them. Let the gladiators have some so they can take their weapons. We move out and I eat another guard. To the plaza. But then the path is blocked by a big weird house that smells alive. It wasn't here yesterday. It's a moving one, a mimic. We should. A house that movesh. I inquire reasonably. Do you have any idea what that means for the real estate market? Revolutionary. How do I find one? They have teeth above the door. You can see if you look. Oh yes, I knew that already, ha ha. I approach and open wide. It smells a bit and it's warm but there are couches. I glance up. No bricks, but retracted fangs. A droplet of drool falls on my armored shoulder. I frown. Magna Arca. Roots embrace the house completely. Something screams in a high-pitched voice. Tentacles and spike-tipped legs struggle in vain. The roots pull the incredible habitat innovation forward. Large, saucer-sized yellow eyes open where the windows are. An integrated intruder alarm system. Don't even need a dog. There is a strange malignant side, half beast and half abstract thoughts on magic and furniture. Need to update the catalog later. I am going to get in, I inform my newest hostile takeover, and I am going to sit in that chair. And then I will wait. When I open the door again, we'd better be in a prime spot with easy access to amenities, a good view of the high markets, and a quiet neighborhood or else. It replies. Good. Get in everyone, I have acquired a faithful steed. We have a merry time. I ask the fireplace to be moved 3 times to see if the design could be improved upon, and I have to say, it would make a wonderful mansion if you don't mind the occasional bit of drool. Can probably fix that by feeding the beast. I'll try soon. We smash into the high markets, which turn out to be a very, very large warehouse filled with goods and collared workers. There is some sort of battle, I think. People protest our completely reasonable demands to fuck off. Some weird large creature that looks like a furry dog with a spear fighter on top tries to stop me, but I just toss him around a bit. Everyone seems to be having a jolly time. Things calm down after I drink the rider dry. What an interesting clutter of goods they have here. I try to purchase some curios, but the salesperson says something about everything being free and me being their savior, which I find quite nice. Good sense of hospitality around those parts. The alliance is in disarray. Someone says while I recline in a pilfered throne. Eggshell and I reply. They wince. Wrong meaning. Pa, I do not care. But Malera has retreated to her flagship, the Edged Bets. It's a massive floating spell platform. How can we even prevail against that? A silly person asks. Flying sip, you say? I ask. We only need to commandeer our own. I toss a corpse at Pookie, my house. She's nice. She is also a bit larger. Yay for fast and free renovations. Macius tries to garner my attention, so I listen because he's a good sort despite the absurd eyeball fixation. There is the leaf on the wind, but it's a derelict now. The hull is shredded. And besides, the edged bet's spell lances will tear us to pieces before we can approach. You there? I yell, pointing at Had. Something. The metal man. Ugh, what was his name again? Whatever. You're First Mate Jenkins, I declare. But my name is Hadrano. That is perfectly fine. First Mate Jenkins is a title. And it is because I just said so. Aye, ma'am, Hadrano, the First Mate Jenkins answers. He looks mildly put upon. You can manipulate steel, right? I ask. Yes. And we can take the balloon and the lifting crystals from the leaf on the wind, right? Yes. A chorus of voices answers. I realize there are over 100 battle-hardened free gladiators around me. A very large swarm of flutterlings also gravitates around us. What a funny band. Good. Focus, Ariane. The night is not done yet. Then I have a plan. A brilliant one too. I remove a ghostly feather from my pouch and shake it under my nose. Ah, that feels so weird and ticklish. Nice. Listen here, me lads and lasses, because the first and most important thing we are going to need is hats. Yar. Asterisk. The susurrus of conversation snakes through the lit corridors of the summer embassy. Crystals shed golden light on the most illustrious visitors of Void Moor, a radiance harvested from the summer palace itself. Warm tones of wit and understated wealth welcome them in the hallowed company of its sophisticated staff, while the armed guards and citrine armor remind everyone of the fist under the velvet glove. In the ambassador's office, two people lean casually against the balcony's railing. The sharp tower of the embassy provides an unmatched vista, from the cloud to the piers. From the pit to the void itself, all can be seen with ease. Sinead's mind races. At his level, negotiations are a high-stake game where every word is a clue, and most are revealed on purpose. He needs the ambassador's support. Scenarios are considered and discarded. A part of his mind observes the woman from the corner of his eye for any gesture she could make. They would be decoys, of course, but missing them would show incompetence and ruin his plans. Annoyingly, a greater part of his mind worries about Ariane. Old Marrow has confirmed that she has not returned home in 5 days, 5 long days of agonizing wait. Only the tracking spell he weaved upon her purse prevents him from leaving the building at a dead run. He knows she is unharmed and free. That is all he allowed himself to perceive after breaking her trust so fully. The pain of his action grips his heart, but he pushes it back down. Even if it takes 10,000 years for Ari to forgive him, he will wait. All that matters is that she has those 10,000 years. Will you not ask about our little diversion? The ambassador asks. Sinead produces a witty answer about never rushing a beautiful host, and she replies with the expected, polite laugh. She speaks, and Sinead listens. He judges that she genuinely desired a break. He calculates that she expects him to make it more pleasant. The possibility of sex hangs around them. Quite a surprise. We expected the Thousand Leaves Alliance to fall when they attempt to take over the docks, not before, yet they have been maimed from the inside by a deliberate, planned effort carried by their freed pit fighters. The Court of Wings and Keyholes appears to be involved in the elaborate plan. I admit to being impressed by their foresight and flawless execution, though I wonder how they expect to dispose of the edged bets. Sinead's gaze travels to the squat spell barge hovering over the city like a fat render. The crime syndicate sacrificed maneuverability and autonomy because they had no need for it. Their flagship serves a single purpose, to ponderously move where resistance is, then destroy it with the hex spears covering its flanks. All those who have tried to take it down have failed. I wonder what our new challengers have planned. Asterisk. Aboard the Dalton's Fury, a lone figure in a tricorn climbs on the prow. The clouds part to reveal over 100 woad-painted, determined fae from over a dozen worlds. They bristle with rage and sharp weapons. And hats. The figure places her hands on her hips. Her first attempt at talking is interrupted by a hiccup, but no one seems to mind. Finally, the figure is ready. Lasses and lads, this is it, the moment we have been waiting for. Usha. Tonight, we take down the 1,000 leaves. Yarrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr can show them no mercy. Let the skies run red. YARRRRRRRR. This story will be our story. This city will be our city. And we will crush anyone on our way. YARRRRRR. Mr. Dancer, full speed ahead. Raise the black flag. All hands on deck. Forward. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Sinead's chest freezes when a familiar shape descends from the cloud cover with predatory grace. It looks disturbingly like an Earth warship hull design, its sleek figure made to slice through water, or it would if it were not for the eyes and teeth. The newcomer is a small shark to the edge bits fat turtle. It moves forward at great speed just as its opponent turns to offer an armed side. Sinead pushes panic down. One of the greatest faults of planners everywhere is confirmation bias. He is scared for Ariane, therefore he sees her in danger everywhere. The thought that she would be responsible for this is absurd. Rascals are not even changing course. Oh, they strap their mimic house to a balloon. That is. Why, I am not quite sure what to say except, perhaps, daring? And what is that strange contraption? The ambassador asks. The Prince of Summer silently accepts the offered looking glass. It reveals a stubby metal tube decorated with runes firmly attached to the attacker's prow. Sinead feels as if he had been plunged in a winter court lake. Surely the fuck not. No, he tells himself, this is probably a coinchi. Boom. With a deafening blast, the gun vomits its payload. White smoke coming from the ship shows that the tube did not survive its first volley, but the effect on its target is larger still. The edge bets is skewered from end to end. It tilts dangerously to the side. Black smoke belches out from the gaping wound, hemorrhaging men and debris down the city below. The ensuing shockwave pushes the clouds aside. Oh my! The ambassador whispers. The last dredges of Sinead's denial perish when the new ship rams its opponent at full speed, and the roar of its boarding crews spreads above the city. He calmly places both hands on the railing and leans forward, the weight of the world placed upon his shoulders. Your Highness? The ambassador asks. Sinead chokes. I guess I deserved that. Chapter 182. I do not recognize the new Sinead. And yet he's the same person. His aura tastes of ripe fields under the summer sun, with a dangerous note. Even his perfume has not changed, and yet I can barely reconcile the shameless dilettante of before with the tense nobleman now working by my side. Perhaps the fault is mine as well. The persona Sinead picked on Earth was a means to an end, the best tool a man without support could use to achieve the impossible. Now, that person is gone, replaced by a prince fighting a dynastic war for survival. He walks with confidence and fights like a lion. He does not quip. He does not provoke. He is an aloof dancer and expert negotiator, obtaining what he needs with a few terse words. It annoys me. I am, in truth, no longer furious. A week-long, cathartic drunken bender dulled the edge of my anger. I have not forgiven him and will no longer grant him a trust that extends to friendship, but that is no reason to stop being entertaining. Ugh. This way, please, our guide finally says in a smooth tenor, his smile tailored to express the most non-committal amount of polite benevolence. We walk through mahogany doors into a reception room, long windows letting void Moor's light in. The Dalton's Fury floats in the distance. Its predatory shape appears that much more ominous under the purple radiance of the Watcher, present even during the day cycle. Not that the Fae would notice. I blink. Was it a coincidence, or does Sinead hold the ambassador's favor to display my ship so? It feels too much like an intimidation tactic. The ambassador will be with you shortly, our guide says, then he leaves, closing the doors behind him. Sinead silently points at one of the 5 seats currently occupying the middle of the room, around a low table currently empty of amenities, including drinks. All business then. I sink in my designated chair and inspect my surroundings. The summer court's embassy favors warm tones and lighter woods. Some of the furniture shines of varnished gold, and the actual light comes from golden globes hanging around the place like ripe apples from the garden of the Hesperides, which Hercules burglarized. Despite the warm interior, I have never felt a stronger mask from any location I have been to. The silent guardians and carefully camouflaged defensive spells make it clear that we are here at the court's sufferance, and that a rescinded hospitality would come with a hefty price. Sinead does not speak and neither do I. My attendance is merely a show, a symbol that I shall act as his second in the coming conflict. Neither I nor Reva's bodyguard need to speak. A minute later, the ambassador comes in, her presence announced by a careful flash of aura. The door opens. The fact that Lycian nobles do not age and their flawless aura control conspire to hide their true nature. The ambassador has donned the appearance of a pleasant middle-aged woman, demure and polite in every respect, respectable yet non-threatening. Even her dress lacks the flamboyance some of her staff members have adopted. By comparison, the next person to enter the room does not hide. If Sinead is a dancer, Revas is a knight. When Sinead is elegant, clean-shaven, and aloof, Revas adopted the bearing of a young king up to the trimmed beard. He wears golden mail under a tabard that could double as a court apparel, and perhaps it has. I have to admit that he's extraordinarily handsome. Revas walks with confidence to his own chair and sits without waiting with the poise of a king. I notice that we did not stand up to welcome him, a small slight, and that he did not wait for us to do so. Revas second is also a woman. Her hair and skin are scarlet and when our eyes meet, she smiles a forest of needles at me. She wears armor of black scales, the links clicking with every step, prowling like a panther with the confidence of one who has killed much and knows she will kill again. Revas walked into this talk with a naked blade. By comparison, I am at least wearing a tunic. The woman smirks. We will kill each other soon. This is what her smile conveys, and so I return it, because I can taste her essence and know she is strong. Welcome, welcome. The ambassador says with more levity than this gathering demands. Ah, it is such a pleasure for me to receive 2 of the royal princes in my humble abode, this twig of the everlasting palace of summer. For the first time, Voidmore shall see the first step of a succession challenge. The entire staff is honored by your presence. My name is Arelas. I shall be your host and, with your agreement, the arbiter of this most noble, exciting, and sacred of contests. Before we begin, would you like to say a few words to each other? I know you haven't met in quite a while. I would love to. Revas declares with an affable smile. His voice is a deep rumble, a baritone as warm as a July evening by the sea, with cool sweet wine and a light breeze chasing away the warmth of daylight. It rings with majesty, control, supreme belief in the self. It is the voice of a not yet king, but one who could be so. This man could walk into any seat of Earth's governments at dawn and lead the country by noon. He truly is a prince of the spheres. My dear brother, let me be the first of our siblings to congratulate you on your liberation. What an incredible tale. The spheres shake with news of your accomplishments from the deep caverns of stone to the court of Blue's airy peaks. What an incredible feat of resourcefulness that was. You honor us with your deeds. He leans forward, a smile on his handsome face. And so when I was informed you wanted to ascend, I cancelled all my plans to grant you this opportunity as soon as it was feasible. Let it be known that the greatest liberator in our history will not be left waiting. Ah, and another thing. I would like to offer you, here and now, access to one of my fleet messengers. One word, and I will make sure your mother comes to visit you between the first and second tasks. No questions asked, no string attached, no conditions. It is my gift to you, as a token of appreciation." "That would be much appreciated," Sinead pleasantly replies. "Then it is done," Revaz declares. I almost expect him to call for wine right now, but he does not. "Our time is precious, brother, so I have nothing to add. Your turn." "I have little to add, Revaz, except that it is good to be back. Ambassador, if you will." The woman closes her eyes and breathes. When she opens them again, there's steel and solemnity in her demeanor. Although the entire exchange is spoken in adult-like Ian, the meaning courses through my essence with perfect clarity. The words I say are unknown to you both. They are meaningless, for you know the rules, and you know the truth behind them, yet they must be said all the same. For tradition. For the memory. So that we may never forget. The purpose of the challenge is to bring fresh blood to the hierarchy of the heirs. The hierarchy's purpose is not to split the burden of the kingdom, though it serves this end as well. It is not to winnow the weak, though it serves its purpose also. It is to guarantee that the next sovereign shall be the best of the best, as the current one is. We are summer. We crush those who would threaten the spheres. We radiate out like the solstice sun. And we can never fall, for we are summer. And summer is the season of war, the two princes quote with finality. With those last words, I catch glimpses of battles past, memories, perhaps, or echoes. Golden spears kill a great beast covered in fur, its breath the very essence of cold. Blood spells and hellish blades stop on metal shields. Staves push away the darkness. More significant, it happens in faraway spheres. Sinead's court might not be the strongest everywhere, but it can go everywhere, and it will certainly make an impact. Now, to the trials. The first will occur here on Voidmoor tomorrow. Due to some recent changes in the sphere's social and political landscape. Everyone deliberately ignores me. I had to change the parameters. All will be explained here before we start so as to prevent participants from engaging in too much preparatory work. The second trial will happen 90 cycles from now, on Autumn's lands at the occasion of the great annual dragon hunt. Victory would belong to he who wins or, failing that, the one who lasts the longest. If there is a final round, it will occur on our own sphere with a melee, barring any decision from the king himself. You are allowed all and every personal resource you can gather, but none from the court itself, willing or not. You are not allowed to engage in any way outside of the trial. We understand. Then we reconvene at dawn. We spend the walk back in silence. We are still living in the house he first showed me the first day we came to this strange land. Despite my hold on the high markets and its recently freed staff, Sinead considers the location as unsafe. You cannot contemplate the breadth of means Revaz can employ to turn your ambitious minions against you. Only old Marrow is almost incorruptible. That is why I picked him, he had said. I trust him to know better in these circumstances. I also expected him to comment on my unexpected and, to be honest, reckless conquest of the Thousand Leaves assets. He has not said anything. His silence disturbs me on a deep level. Who has taken my loquacious, smooth, and scandalous rake? Who has replaced him with this brooding courtier? I understand why he would betray me, now that I have had the time to consider his options. To a Fae, rebuilding trust for 3,000 circles would not be so daunting a prospect, when the alternative is to lose someone forever. What I do not understand and did not expect is the effect it seems to have on him. Even as I slow down on the paved path to give a hand signal to one of our escorts, he matches speed with me. He knows where I am and what I am doing. He simply elects not to comment. Should we talk now or within safe walls? I ask. Sinead tilts his head. I watch his reaction, which is always the same. The hint of a pleasant smile, the first signs of a roguish retort will bloom on his deliciously attractive face, then die. He will snuff the flame of his amusement before it can take flight. All that is left is melancholy. It annoys me to no end. I should be the betrayed, moody, melancholic one lamenting my cruel fate from the walls of some windswept fortress. Satsanaed ambles around clad in duty and sacrifice like some doomed Roman general. I cannot even insult him without feeling like I hit a puppy. Ugh. If you have questions, you may ask them. We should wait to start planning, however. Just in case. What did you get from the meeting? I must have missed much. I have made a mistake, Sanaed says. How do you mean? I have made a mistake back on Earth, and he will use it against me. That is what his first comment implied. The fact that he did not protest the location means he will use it against us in his first trial. As for the offer to contact my mother, it is genuine. It is? I ask with some curiosity. Yes. And that means he intends to kill me. Consider his offer a mark of respect from him to me, and a chance to leave my affairs in order. He genuinely respects me for what I have done, hence his offer. Revas sees himself as a mostly benevolent person. He will still kill me, should he win the contest, possibly because my continued survival could be perceived as a failure on his part. And the last important detail is that the ambassador is angry at him. By giving us a view of my ship? Sanaed turns and nods. You picked up on it, good, but that is not all. The way she belittled herself as if in jest means he forced her to do something and she had no choice but to agree. This is her way of letting us know. Any idea what? None. He leans back in his chair. None. I am sorry, Ariane. We may face complications, but bear in mind that we will attend the hunt unless we die. So, do not die. I will keep your advice under consideration. For the first time, it rains. The white cloud ball hovering atop Void Moor opens up, and water floods the grimy streets, washing blood away until the next revels. Weather from a county-sized planet floating through the ether remains just as inexplicable as light or, indeed, gravity, though it all seems within what I would expect of the spheres. We walk to the embassy at a steady pace, gladiators arrayed behind us. Sanaed wears a green and gold armor I did not see him acquire. I have to admit it suits him very well. He also has a large bag bursting at the seams with magic. A fencer sword adorns his sides. As for me, I wear the Aurora, expecting trouble. Both of our ships hover above with their hex lances and newly made bombards bristling out. Making us is here as well, with a small flock of flutterlings. The mood is dark. Can't believe we're going against the prince, Noel the fly-headed one grumbles. We got our own, Sima retorts, though I can taste her fear. They are correct in being concerned. Even the rain feels heavy, and the purple radiance above cares not for our success, only that we try. Upon our arrival, we are not directed inside. Instead, the ambassador walks out, flanked by 4 silent guards in shimmering armor. We are led far away from my usual haunts, though the term might be generous for a place I only just discovered. Twisting alleys and streets succeed another until the bustle of life disappears completely. There are houses here as well, endless streets of them, but they have a more rustic feel. Then, they become strange. Some of the houses lack an entire wall, another is just a single bathroom covered in tiles with random furniture visible through overly large windows. Other houses seem to have shrunk on themselves. We come across a deserted marketplace through an entrance dug into a wall, only to realize the square is not just empty, there are no streets leading into it. It had been designed to be walled off. Eventually, we reach another pit entrance. The familiar walls form a steep chasm, this time without light at the bottom. The ambassador stops to address us, her expression slightly regretful. Or it could be my imagination. The first trial is simple. The first person to reach the heart of Void Moor and touch the pedestal paced before it wins. The what now? Sima asks. You may enter through here or any other path of your choosing. You will wait until the turn of this hourglass to engage the other party on the surface. That is all. Remember that this is but the first trial of 3, and do not let the light of summer fade. With this, the ambassador removes from a pocket the hourglass she mentioned and places it on the ground by our feet. She leaves without a last glance, guards in tow. We remain behind, facing the pit. I know nothing of a heart. I know little of the underground, Sanayat, save that you recommended against exploring it. And the court of summer deemed it wise to do so anyway, the prince whispers. All I know is that the warrens beneath the ground are a labyrinth and many die trying to explore it. I also know that nobody who returned ever found anything of value. No crystals, no ore, no artifacts or forgotten lore. Just warm stone and dark dreams. Screams, sometimes. Right. Right. Exploration time. We have 4 far speakers recovered from the Alliance. We'll use them to keep in touch. Would they work underground? They should. For a while, Sanayat replies. And the Warren's branch, I suppose. Quite a bit, Sanayat adds. Does the stone heal or change? Not to my knowledge, or at least not fast, Hadrano adds. I've mined some of the stuff to repair the arena before I signed in as a pit fighter. What is the likelihood we face Revas in battle? It should not come to this if we hurry, Sanayat says. The first trial is never designed for direct combat, since the 2 opponents would probably duel to the death. Fine, proposal then, we split into 3 exploration groups. We mark the tunnels we cross with the following code. I carved some of the red Cabal field marks designed to help them navigate hostile places on the pavements using rows. Safe spot for exit, no loot for dead end, and direction for where the group decided to go. It is by no means perfect, but it should help us map the place. It is safe to assume that something called a heart could be near the center, so we try to go deeper when we split. Nods all around. Sanayat is strangely passive. The Fury should go and check the other pit. Fire on whatever setup they have on the ground. Don't get close. I'll stay with them, Noel says. I don't perform well in enclosed spaces. We should mark the passages we come across with numbers, Makias suggests. In the end, we split into 3 groups as I planned but not the way I thought. Sanayat insists on staying with me, as will Makias. The rest of our forces distribute evenly. I send the Fury to hunt down Revas people on the ground if there are any. I give them clear instructions not to get close. There are several entrances, Noel explains. We will start with the one we know and then search for the more remote one. Don't expect much. That is fine. A few more minutes to distribute additional equipment, and we are set. We move down into the pit in a single file. The cavern below rivals the arena's grotto in terms of sheer size. None of the lights my minions brought can even reach the stalactites-covered ceiling. Their footsteps echo strangely in the darkness. No one comments. We walk the monumental surface to find 4 different tunnels leading down. I simply pick one at random and with a few wishes of good luck, we separate. Not 2 minutes inside our path, and Sanayat stops. He takes down his bag and removes from it a lamp clad in swirling patterns of cobalt. The aura explodes out, tasting of rarefied air and magic. I consider the item and realize it is undoubtedly more complex than anything I have seen on Earth with the exception of Semiramis ritual. What? I ask. Although I appreciate your efforts, my dear Ariane, you can imagine that I have prepared for a certain amount of possibilities during the couple of weeks of our stay here. This Blue Court Pathfinder will lock on the greatest source of magic here and show us the fastest path down. I did tell you we had several favors to call upon. This is one of them. You could have mentioned it before. I grumble, then my followers are not as reliable as you wish they were. You are in the face fears here, Ariane. Vampires are not the unstoppable creatures of the night they are back home, and the temptations here defy your imagination. Revas knew you had acquired fresh recruits, unbound by oath, from a variety of courts. They are walking security risks despite your best intentions. It was better to share as little information as possible with them. I wasted our time. No, they offered a good distraction, Sinead explains. And they will be useful later. We are running a marathon, not a sprint. Now, enough delay, we have to keep going. We move faster. The lamp lights our way with a ghostly radiance, darkening where the magic is thickest. The passage narrows and dips. I cast occasional glances at the stone and find it round and smooth, as if polished by eons of water in a place that I know for a fact rain has not touched in recent memory. Sinead's steps are quiet. The only noise comes from his heartbeat, breath, and the frantic flapping of fairy wings. They provide a low drone that prevents me from listening carefully. The same can be said of my sense of smell. Sinead's enticing perfume saturates the air. Ugh, that is why I prefer to hunt alone. I am running blind. We barely ever slow down. When a side tunnel opens, I take an instant to mark our way. Sinead does not stop. He runs with determination. The stone changes. The color turns more pinkish, like quartz. The temperature increases. "Captain," a voice says, breaking the silence. It comes from the forecaster. I bring it to my ears immediately. "No?" "Oh, thank the spheres. You have incoming." His voice cuts and goes, scrambled by interference. I still manage to catch most of his meaning thanks to the properties of Lycian. Big. Hostile. Pookie was hurt, we had to. Too dangerous. The communication ends. I ask for clarification several times and receive none. The stone surrounding us must interfere with the spell, somehow. Frustrating, though it confirms we are being pursued from our own entrance. I doubt the Fury had the time to reach another one. "Wait," Sinead warns. We slow down at the edge of another pit. The prince opens his bag again and finds gloves. He jumps down, using the tiniest irregularities of the wall to place a toe, then using that fragment of a foothold as a springboard to jump lower. Sometimes, he uses his hands instead and the gloves inexplicably stick to them like frog fingers. I use my claws to the same effect and try not to feel too inadequate at the grace he displays. I should add climbing to the list of skills I should work on. Nevertheless, we make good progress. At the bottom of the chasm, we find our first corpse. "What is that?" I cannot help but ask. A fake cadaver emerges from a side wall, head bowed down and cold arms hanging limply. A male one, quite handsome with a deep gash where the heart should be. His hair has turned pallid at the root while a crystalline growth covers most of his body. He does not stink of rot, not even a little. Instead, a pungent organic smell permeates the still air. "We have no time," Sinead insists. I know he is right. We follow the lamp's lead towards another tunnel, this one so narrow the prince has to bend a little, making a sunny's flock land on my armor. I do not blame them. I blame them even less when we find more bodies in various stages of either being swallowed or being pushed out. I am not sure which is worse. "Captain, there are too many of them, you..." A sentence, brief and cut too short. Sim's voice. "Last group, can you hear me?" I ask. "Yes, boss," Hadranu whispers. "Abort and return to the surface." A delay, then. Understood. We leave. I grit my teeth in anger. When I find those who attacked us. "Do not think of revenge," Sinead interrupts. "Think that they caught up with the other groups and here. They could catch us still. We must hurry." As frustrating as it is to run, I agree with him. Voidmore's innards feel dangerous enough as it is. Around us, the air grows ever wetter, warmer. The walls turn more red. I am drawing rather unfortunate conclusions. Despite my misgivings, we do not stop. We cannot stop. I hear at first despite the interference. A deep, booming thump. It is not sound, Macias tells me. "What do you mean, can you not hear it as well?" "We can hear it, but it is not sound," The winged one replies. It beats in your head. I shake my head. Sinead keeps going at a steady pace, driven by a single purpose. The darkness would be absolute without the lamp. We climb down another pit. We must be so deep now. Water drops over our heads. A few puddles are nestled between two ridges on the ground. I look up by sheer instinct and see two pink iris glaring down, or perhaps I imagined it. I stop drawing my path on the ceiling. It feels wrong, it feels dangerous. We are tracked. We are also trespassing. The warrens turn labyrinthine. Every passage looks the exact same as the previous one. Even Sinead's scent becomes elusive in the swampy air. After an hour at breakneck speed, we are almost there. The heartbeats are so loud my teeth would vibrate if it were indeed sound, but it is not. Suddenly, the tunnels widen. We slow down at the edge of the most colossal cave I have ever seen. It is a hollowed-out sphere in the center of Void Moor, its surface crisscrossed with bone-colored stone bridges, and at its center is the heart. It looks like an unholy marriage of stone and flesh centered around a single eye. A pedestal stands proudly at the bottom of the bubble, right below the crystalline organ. Our destination. Revis is nowhere in sight. The way ahead closes. One moment, we gaze into the strange rift, the next, a night forest extends before us with a lake in the distance. Black branches extend from withered trunks, bare like the fingers of crons and just as gnarly. Something has come behind us, and it is deafeningly, blindingly, stunningly powerful. We turn to face the newcomers. Behind us, Void Moor's artery has widened to form a chamber around a stone throne. I felt the shift. I knew the spheres to be more malleable than my home dimension, but this is something else. The leader of our foe has changed reality by sheer force of will. Even now, I feel the weave of space smooth out after its momentary violation, ripples expanding out. I gaze in the face of she who has trapped us and realize what Sinead's sin was. In retrospect, I should have expected it. Our opponent is twice as tall as Sinead, and clad in an armor shining silver and diamond. A crescent moon blade rests in one of her hands, a round shield in the other, half white half black. Her mouth extends almost to her ears and shows fangs where the incisors should be. Ears like those of a hare extend up while curved antlers jut out from her temples. Her eyes are the same pink as that of albino rabbit, but this is no prey, no, not at all. Warriors of both genders stand by her side from wall to wall, clutching diamond and silver weapons. For an instant, the moon behind us shines upon them until the sheen of their blades reaches a cruel intensity, then the moment fades, though the threat does not. I recognize their appearance since I borrowed it when freeing captives in Austria. Those are seekers of stolen memories. They seem displeased. I check again. Our way is blocked by what has to be another plane. It does not feel like an illusion. In a hunch, I take a step back and feel grass under my feet. Not an illusion. You are being used, Sinead states in a voice that does not hint of fear. We are. I wince. The words shake my mind, rumbling through my mind palace like an earthquake. I am a toddler defending a toy fort. I realize that Sinead speaks true like Ian, but he does not understand it. Not yet. Not like this one does. Her word is fact. It matters not. The seekers must remain inviolate. It must be so. Revis will pay later. You will pay now. Sinead licks his lips. He smells nervous now. I am nervous as well. At least let her go. It was my mistake, not hers. She has donned our garments. She has claimed our name. I gasp and take a step back. The accusations hit me like a wall. I am guilty, guilty. No. Ignorance does not excuse this sin. You will come with us. The trial is lost. Must push back. Not lost yet. Not until Revis finds his way down. Not lost yet. Lost. 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 I will not. I grit between teeth. I will not submit to another one's mercy ever again. Never. Never. You will come with us. Get out of my head, I spit in a cade. The language settles me, somehow. It removes me from this world and its rules. We are of the Watcher, outsiders ourselves. I bow to no one. I tell her so. I bow to no one. I accept no chains. Ariane, Sinead whispers. No. Never again, I reply. He nods. I understand. Your courage and defiance are noted. You'll note rose up your liver. Magna Arca. For the first time, my essence barely expands past my form and stops. I try to grow roots and fail, but I can move. At least, I am not collared. Makius and Sinead are trapped, though I feel their own magic struggling against the overwhelming pressure the woman releases. I push and take steps forward. The woman waves her hand. The corridor disappears. We are in a clearing under a crimson moon, forest extending everywhere else. A bird ululates in the distance. I can move freely. The roots finally answer my call. For a small moment, fate hangs in the midst of its swing. Makius and Sinead come by my side, free. The woman tilts her head. I will not submit. I attack with everything I have and meet a wall of shields. They are fast, so fast here. Almost as fast as me, but not quite. They do, however, know how to work together. Offensive roots are pushed, stabbed. The pain hurts me deeply, somehow. Rose hurts a warrior, slithering under her guard. She tastes like patience and murder. I dive under lines of spears, slide on roots to reposition. I am everywhere. I am surrounded. They push me back with discipline and cold purpose. A blade is deflected. Sinead has joined the fray. He is fire to my ice, grace to my savagery. We deflect and strike, causing wounds but never a killing blow. An opening. Heart skeeker. Shields block most tendrils, but others find their mark. I am stronger. They falter. The werewolf statue crawls out of the free space, grabbing a hand. A spear stabs it. The pain is excruciating. I gasp, despite my high tolerance. Vision turns red. I allow the statue to crumple. Makius falls, grabbed by a soldier. He is bleeding. Sinead bleeds as well, but he still covers my back. Strange curved blades bounce on the aurora. They fail to find purchase, for now. The warriors step back, many hurt but not dead yet. The woman has not moved. She gestures, and my fake crew leaves the nearest thicket, shackled in moonlight. Lesser warriors hold them captive. Makius' insensate body joins them. Even if you have them, I cannot accept. I can never, ever be at another's mercy ever again, I coldly state. I am hurt. A quick glance inward shows that my mind palace is cracked and wounded, the statue's breaking. The hedge maze has died in some segments, creating weaknesses in my defenses. When did it happen? I was not attacked mentally. Release us from your domain, or kill me, I finish. Child. You are no longer in our domain. I freeze, sensing the truth in her words. The Seekers of Stolen Memories started as the Court of the Blood Moon. Sinead pants by my side. We are in their world now. We have left Voidmoor. This is a different sphere. What? But... My protests die upon my lips. I know it cannot be easy to change worlds. Only one kind of Lycian could possibly have such power. So, that is why the ambassador was displeased. She was made to permit this. I am a sovereign. A wave crashes into me and I kneel or risk keeling over. Sinead does not fare better. My entire essence is compressed back into my body, then more, until my skin cracks and my muscles groan, deprived of what makes my existence possible. My fingertips turn to ash. It hurts. It hurts so much. Then the pressure vanishes as the voice fades and the message it carried eases itself in the past. I was not attacked. The Queen of the Blood Moon merely mentioned the fact and it nearly killed me. By the Watcher, I do not want to hear her scream. You helped me fight her anyway, knowing what she was. I asked Sinead. His eyes are bleeding a bit as well. So long as we are here, you will never fight alone. Macius agreed even though he knew that the seekers of stolen memories are the bane of mental fighters, you included. He sighs. We have lost the first trial because of my mistake. Not all is lost, however. Ariane, do you trust me? The court waits for my answer. I see the plea in Sinead's pained gaze. Ugh, it is so much like him to put my back against the wall. Damn you, I do. But I have not forgiven you, I finally hiss. He nods, and stands. The Queen allows him a bargain to decide our punishment. You have fought deliberate, as we have since Ian's past. You may speak. Let us retrieve stolen memories. Let us fight your fight to wash away the crime of borrowing your appearance. We will make you proud or die trying. You would match the essence with the form? One is a lie, not a lie. Pressure. I gasp. Sinead does not. He stands, bloody yet unbroken. You dance dangerously, child of Amarillo. You will let our allies go and return us so we may compete in the second ordeal. If you prove yourself, I shall. I have spoken. It is done. Tope continued.